It's Wednesday, and it's time for another Business Analysis Live. Tech issues and all. Who cares about that? I'm Susan Moore. I'm the Community Engagement Manager at the International Institute of Business Analysis, and we are so excited for you to join us today because we've got a topic that maybe you think is one thing, but our guest today, she thinks it's something else. So let me set this up for you. Maybe you've talked about cybersecurity. Maybe you've thought about cybersecurity. By the way, October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So, really, that's a good time to be thinking about it. Maybe you think cybersecurity is all about threats and risk and taking care of hackers and building systems so they're rock hard and preventing intrusions. Or is it something else? Hmm. Well, let's bring our next guest on. Bendu Chanavarappa. She is the author of a book on this topic, and we're going to be talking about self reflection as a part of cybersecurity. Bendu, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Susan. And that was a really lovely introduction for the topic in terms of, what to think. It's quite inquisitive, I guess.
Yeah, you and I have been chatting for a while now about cybersecurity. You've been a guest on Business Analysis Live. You've also done some webinars on this topic with IIBA. And, I was sharing with you this morning that my own bias about cybersecurity was that I thought it was all a technical field, that it would be really complicated. And in fact, you said, no, that's kind of not what it's about. It's a little bit different. That's certainly an aspect. So maybe let's start off with this, because maybe some of our viewers don't know you. Just do a short introduction of yourself.
First of all, thank you once again. It's an honor to be with you chatting again on the live. Uh, I have been a BA, I think, all my life, if I look back, with probably 2 decades within the profession. And in terms of cybersecurity, it wasn't something I kind of try to work on or towards even going taking that career path. So I am a BA. I still am a BA. However, one of the experiences I realized that cybersecurity need not be outside or shouldn't be outside the analysis, and more so now because of the technological landscape that we are in. And that's how just a personal experience working on a project got me into realizing how important it is. And it is, again, as Susan, you clearly mentioned, it's not more technical, it is more than that. So yeah, since then, kind of spending a lot of time and space and energy here. I was also a part of the CCS certification, working with few others, the part of the team to build the certification and the exam questions. And I think since then, I've been very vocal and a very keen advocate of making cybersecurity as part of the mainstream business analysis, so that every business analyst should holistically look at security irrespective of what analysis part that we are delivering or what project phase we are in. And currently, I'm on a mission to ensure that every BA is aware of it and is competent enough to understand and also incorporate cybersecurity within their analysis, hopefully in the next 4 or 5 years. And that's the community initiative I'm currently working on.
That's a great introduction. So if you have not seen Bendu speak, Bendu has been. I tell her I see her all over LinkedIn. Every time I open up LinkedIn, there's Bendu in a new place talking about cybersecurity. So you really are getting the word out. Because you feel so strongly about cybersecurity, you've written a book, and that's part of the reason people are seeing you a lot on LinkedIn. Tell us a little bit about the book and about kind of where that audience is. Who's your audience for that book?
Uh, this book, Cybersecurity and Business Analysis, as I just mentioned, Susan, This is something that wasn't in the, I mean, even the career that I've chosen now or I'm in currently wasn't planned. Since I think 2018, after CCA, uh, I've been kind of talking at every conference and delivering workshops along with Terry, another teammate who worked on CCA as well. So we've been very vocal and spreading this awareness that cybersecurity is something as BA we should all be looking at, which was all fine. So spreading that awareness, people started understanding. And at the end of the session, whether it's a webinar or workshop, it was the natural question was, okay, yes, how do I go about it? Yes, of course, then we would share a few tips and tricks and approaches. But holistically, how do I really make it my job, or how do I every day, irrespective of whatever the phase I am in, how do I do it? So basically, we had to go a little deeper into the conversation because now we understand at a superficial layer that this is important and it's also a part of a BS responsibility. And that was something that was then probably 4 or 5 years back, and I was trying to put some training together, or some kind of structure to all this awareness programs. At that point in time, this again book was a logical progression, and when BCAs, the publishers who reached out to me, it was probably the timing was right, I guess, because I had spent a lot of time and I was trying to give all that awareness to a structure to bring it to another level. So hence the book actually started, even the seed started kind of really germinating, and then yeah, rest is history. It took almost more than a year for me to kind of put together. And again, it's about both these aspects because it's just not cybersecurity or it's just not business analysis. It's the amalgamation of both, and that is where this book currently, because even after the book was published, even I think 2 days back, I received a comment on LinkedIn. They said, I didn't know what the link between BA, business analysis, and cyber security, and I was just searching it up, and I got this link. So I think that is what it is, because we didn't have anything, like as I said, in 7 8 years back when I encountered project where I was working, which was a cyber threat. And then I really searched up a lot. I couldn't get anything. So, which means I had to go back to university to study information security and then take those aspects and see, okay, how can, what aspects from those I can really use it in my BA work? How much is relevant to business analysis and how much is purely technical? And, starting looking at other perspectives, just not the technical perspective, because although and I also come from a technical background. When I started my career from an very engineering, I was a proper techie coding. Coding is my first love still. So yeah, coming from a systems analyst developer background, understanding security wasn't too challenging for me. But again, I had to pick up those aspects which are relevant from a BA perspective, from a BA lens, where we spend a lot of time understanding the system, sorry, the business as well, and the processes and how we can take or what parts of those cybersecurity would be relevant for us. And I think the timing also was good when after I completed my studies, that's exactly when I saw Ken, the previous CEO who had, initiated this, and he had written an article. And I just, after that article, I was so excited. I just jumped in and responded back. This is wonderful. And, giving my background, that how I experienced. So yeah, one thing led to another. So that is, it was all kind of, now looking back, I'm able to connect the dots. So the book was a very logical progression to just the awareness that we were doing. And also now I'm finding people after reading the book, they say now if I'd attempted CCA, it would have been much easier for me to, even take the CCA certification as well, because I had to do a lot of research and a lot of studying for CCA, because we don't have anything like a babok to back it up.
Yep.
And that is anything that was so positive, which wasn't kind of, on my radar. I was just thinking about linking these two subjects, but now it is also serving different purposes, or, from different lenses. So, yeah, hence this book.
Yep, security and business analysis. Yeah, I don't think I really thought about cybersecurity from a business process perspective, but I know we had a guest who did a webinar with us a while ago. Her name is Helen Patton. She is a chief information security officer. I think she works for Cisco now, but she was at Ohio State University at the time. And she talked about her own background in business analysis, and she started out on the business process side, and she said really the threats and the risk and the problems created by hackers and just silly things that people do to systems really start much further upstream in business processes, and if we are not really looking at business processes well in a way to close gaps
Yeah.
that allow people to accidentally or intentionally do something wrong. If we don't assess risk early on, then what we end up with is a very tired technical team who has to deal with all of the intrusions and hackers and things like that. And I hadn't ever thought about that. So when I hear you say that what your book is doing is humanizing cybersecurity, I think what you're saying is really that focus is farther upstream, thinking about process and risk in people, just like we do in other branches of business analysis.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to kind of add to whatever you shared is absolutely right. And there's a concept called shifting left in cybersecurity as well, where the thought about cybersecurity is to be shifted left. That is from the strategy or from the discovery phase, and that's again what the book also talks about. It's just not something. An afterthought. Cybersecurity is not an afterthought. It's like bugs, like if you don't fix it sooner within the process, it's going to be very expensive and sometimes even impossible. So this concept of shifting left is to kind of start looking at the security from the get-go of the project. And the approach what I always take is security. When you're talking about security itself, the word itself, you're trying to secure something, and we can only secure something when we know what is it we are securing and what is the value of it, and what is the risk if we lose it. So once we understand that value, then we can talk about security. So it just goes about in from the beginning, what is it that we are trying to achieve in this project, or what is the process we're going to follow to achieve this strategy or the business need, and what is it we are actually dealing with it. And that's where the thought of value and the security should ideally start. And that is where the industry as well is now recognizing the concept of shifting left. So yeah, much ahead.
Yeah. When I hear you say think about shifting left and thinking about security up front, I hear non functional requirements. And I think the irony of that is if you are not thinking about that kind of non-functional requirement, boy, does that become a functional problem at the end that's going to have to be dealt with. So, yeah, just in the same way we are thinking about all of those other illities, they say, right? Accessibility and whatever, you know, security is one of those things to be thinking about. Um, as you were telling the story of how you came to the book, and then you said, "Well, I wrote the book," but then I thought about what had just happened over the past year. I started to see how those things connected, and I feel like that really is the crux of our show today, which is about self-reflection. Um, so maybe let's talk a little bit about what self reflection is and why that's important in the work of business analysis and cybersecurity.
Yeah, I think this question is kind of it has a couple of two or three questions within it. So the first I would like to answer in terms of the book itself. before we get into what self-reflection is. So reflection has been or self-reflection in particular has been a big part in my life. I've been a practitioner, I practice meditation, a practitioner almost from a decade now. Of course, a decade back, it was like I couldn't even concentrate for 10 seconds. But yeah, over the time, it's become who I am today. So I can live without food or sleep or, any of those things. But reflection is something, it's become so part of me. I cannot start my day or end my day without that. So I'm just talking about the application first before that. So, in terms of the book itself, like as I mentioned, I've been doing this work from quite some time, and every time there's a presentation, we would always bring up new statistics or new incidents or new information that's out there. So, research in the background was always happening, which means there was a lot of content which was piling up as well. And working on this book, I knew the overarching theme, what it would be, and what are the key components I wanted to include uh, from a BA perspective. However, because we know both cybersecurity and business analysis are completely two separate, dry, theoretical subjects, to bring these two together at a very logical approach is just impossible. So I had to kind of really go deep dive into my inner meditation, if I can call, or the reflection, those reflective practices to actually identify some of the threads from both these pillars, subjects, to make those meaningful connections. So that is something I had to, without that practice, I can say 100% this book wouldn't have been what it is today, and it wouldn't have reached the people how it is kind of reaching today, because like as I said, both are completely dry subjects, and if I had to breathe life into those pages to bring those concepts alive, it is again a logical approach wasn't sufficient. So having said that, what is reflection? Of course, I think reflection is very broadly spoken about, and it also has a very wide spectrum. Reflection involves thinking, but not all thinking is reflection. This is again at one end, and also we are all used to doing the project retrospectives. That's again, some people call it as reflection. However, I would say that that is something, a process that we use to enhance our, the delivery iterations and delivery processes to assess, okay, what went well, what didn't go well, and how we can improve. So we are looking at the process there. But the other end of reflection, or the completely the core of reflective practices, is really getting deep into your inner core and looking at yourself. And that needs a lot of courage, because we have to not only look at ourselves, but also look at our fears, insecurities, and all the other things where, we are not comfortable even to look at. And I think society also, teaches us to kind of, okay, run away from those problems by maybe mindlessly surfing or binge watching or eating ice creams or even consuming mind numbing liquids or substances. However, reflection is completely the opposite. It really wants us to stop running away and face the situation head on. And also, once we do that, it gives us that courage to really go deep dive and find brilliant, elegant solutions for the problems that we were running away, because we all know what we need to do, but it's just that we don't have that courage to do it. So, following a structured process will really help us to kind of understand what it is. So, yeah, that is probably the very long answer.
I love that answer. And also, maybe you noticed, I loved when you said this. Not all thinking is reflection. And you know what that got me thinking about? So we've had a guest on here recently. We talked about observation. And if you look in
Mhm.
the business analysis body of knowledge, essentially what it says about observation is
Yeah.
it is not just seeing, it's seeing and interpreting. And what I hear you say is reflection is here's what I wrote down. It is thinking and interpreting. So you are kind of doing all of this. You talked about making connections, going inward. And also when you mentioned going inwards and thinking about our own vulnerabilities, I feel like we went real meta, Bendu, and like thinking about our own vulnerabilities while we're thinking about vulnerabilities of a system or an organization. So
Yeah.
that got me thinking about another thing, which I have heard you say, which is self reflection as a business analysis superpower. Because what you've described is a level of analysis which is not in a document, it's not interviewing and asking, but you really do have to maybe specifically for cybersecurity, I think you really do have to go inward and you kind of have to let your mind go, because some of the things that are out there are unknown unknowns, and you've got to be able to do that. And I think that's what you're saying.
Absolutely, you're spot on. Because reflection, what I have experienced being a practitioner, is reflection is more or less like analysis. Okay,
Hmm.
but it
Hmm.
just has a twist to it. Like business analysis, here too we look at what the situation that we are dealing. We also examine the actions, the decisions, the outcomes, the impacts. However, we do this, the twist I'm talking about is we all do this as a detached observer.
Hmm.
It's more like watching a movie where you the watching, the one who is watching, and the movie are two completely separate entities. So when we are watching a movie, we don't get entangled like the actor or with the emotions of the actor. We might feel those emotions, but we are very objectively watching it. We know who is right, who is wrong, and what's happening because we are outside of the situation. However, when we are within the challenges or within the situations, and especially when we are making taking decisions or key actions, that is when it is very natural, very human that we get entangled in those emotions or we get attached to who we are, what our responsibility is. And by practicing this reflection, we actually build that muscle to look at things objectively even during when the situation is happening. I know it is very very easier than done, and even till today I still struggle with that because it's something, it's about like rewiring because we are not used to it. So like business analysis, here also we ask the right questions. Why behind every action, why behind the decisions, we challenge our assumptions, also uncover hidden patterns like, okay, why did I respond, what was the underlying assumption I had, like we try to, like in projects as you clearly said, we not only see what is visible, we also see the unseen, we also try to see the unknown,
Hmm.
hear the unspoken, as I say, and notice what normally gets unnoticed, especially those tacit knowledge. So all of these things, are really, drawing parallels with this reflection. And to answer your question, why is it a superpower? Today, I'm hearing in many forums, many webinars relating to PA and outside. And even last week, when I was at the conference, I heard many people talking about one of the top skill that as the PA we all need to develop is being a leader in true sense. And what I mean by being the leader in a true sense is the one who brings both their heart and their mind to work.
Hmm.
So we have been kind of wired, like probably from the industrial age and the informational era, that we have to work like machines. Productivity is very important. So we multitask and we were doing all of that. But to continue the same thing in the informational era is very foolish to compete with the machines, because today we have machines to do a lot of things, including our mental capabilities. So today, we have to bring our humanness back. Thanks to the machines, we can go back and become the humans that we really are, and rather than kind of work like machines. So together, harnessing the capability that today's AI or the machines bring, we as humans bring empathy, introspection, understanding, compassion, and we try to work together, collaborate with each other to identify the right, elegant solutions to our business problems, which are also ethical in nature and moral in nature, and also in line with the core values of the organization as well. So I see business analysis as a responsibility, and through this, through our analysis, we influence a lot of decisions. And as part of my research as well, because the book talks about a framework, and the actual overarching framework, as part of the overarching component of this framework, is ethics. Because ethics is something, it has to kind of go trickle into each and every aspect that we do, from the mindset up until all the other technical things that we are doing. So as BAs today, whatever we were bringing to the table cannot stay as is. So we need to bring in the additional aspect of ethics as well in whatever we are doing, which means we cannot confine our analysis to just the business need or the data analysis or using those skills and tools from our toolbox. It's time we need to assess the broader impacts that our products have, because it's no more that particular, the value we are bringing to the organization or to a very small segment of the customer base or a stakeholder. Our products today impact to a wider audience, or even some of those products to society at large, and in most cases also to the human well-being. So as BAs, we need to have that ethical lens, and at the same time have that courage and confidence to bring those analysis to the table and put it out there, so that the business can take those decisions and also influence those decisions with our which are very ethically focused as well, and not compromising on human well-being. And I believe that only when a BA is very self aware and self assured, can have that confidence to bring those hard facts where some of the organizations might not want to hear, but it's our duty, it's our responsibility. And these things only come when we actually take the time out to reflect on the impacts, both positive and negatives, because we are always rushing, because we always have a deadline, and we always want to put our product out there to captivate the market value or whatever the reasons it could be. And today, again, as part of the work I was doing for the book, some of the research really tells us stories. I've also actually included those as well in the book, how initially the impacts were assumed or thought to be positive, but later on, when implemented in the real world, also had a lot of negative impacts as well. So that is why I call it as a BA's superpower, because this is something today we as BAs, who are trusted advisors, who are those influencers for key decisions, we need to have this power to really see things as they are, as a detached observer, and not get into any biases while we deliver our analysis, and at the same time make sure that also assess the wider impact that our products might have today, tomorrow, and in the longer run.
Yeah, this is really the skills that you're talking about are really human skills. And I think that was one of the pieces of feedback that somebody had shared with you, was that they felt you approached cybersecurity in a way that was very human. Because
Yeah.
really, as you were talking, I was thinking, oh my gosh, the many times what creates these risks are by smart hackers who tap into human vulnerabilities, right? I
Yeah.
am greedy. I am curious. I am just, off doing something I shouldn't be doing. And ta-da, I've suddenly stepped into something that's created a threat for the organization. So I think that, but many times you cannot know that when you're developing systems. So I think being self aware, being able to go deep and to think about some of these things really is critical. And I'm going to stop there for a second because I want to remind folks we are live and we're going to take some questions. And so, Bendu, I'm going to let you wrap up real quick, and then I think we've got a couple of questions um, for you. All right. Last thoughts before we take questions.
Like as I said, two aspects or maybe three aspects I need to kind of highlight. So first is yes, we are here to talk about business analysis and cybersecurity. So cybersecurity is not something nice to have or something skill that either I could pick up or not, like any other skills. As a BA, we kind of, it's not another branch. Yes, although it is appearing another branch today, it is something holistically as part of our analysis. We need to kind of start looking at it. It is just not NFR anymore. Yes, 10 years back it was just NFR, and that is why it was fine. It was, like we used to work with the IT teams or the security teams to understand, okay, what is the technical impact and all of those. However, today it is part of the functional requirements. It's part of our product, it's part of the business. So, again, the book talks about more on that. And along with this, to be the true leaders for and also be relevant BA as we are at a very fast, ever fast changing landscape. Have be human, go back to being who we truly are. I know, as again, as part of the research, I'm going back there because I did a lot of work and it really opened up so many doors for me. And one of the researchers from the World Health Organization is the new pandemic, which is the mental illness. And that is, again, depression is one of the key or the major disability across the globe. And we know at the mortality rate, how it is impacted as well. So going back to this practice of reflection not only helps the organization and the work we do. I think as humans we need to really connect to who we are, because we have forgotten, we are lost, we are confused, and we cannot go like this, especially as BAs. If we are going to do this analysis to identify a value, we shouldn't forget the real value of who we are, being that human. And I think we need to protect it. And that is where taking that little time to understand who we are, and that is where the practice of reflection really, really helps. So those are my wrap up statements and takeaways.
those are your keys to
Yes.
self-reflection. Yeah, I think those are all really good reminders. All right. So again, we're taking your questions live, folks. So drop them into the chat. All right, here's our first question. And this question is from Camilo. What is the main challenge you face in your experience related to AI? And so, Will, since this is about self-reflection and cybersecurity, what are some of the challenges for cybersecurity when AI gets introduced?
Okay, AI is again like any other tool. As I was mentioning earlier, probably 2 decades back, cybersecurity was something was only towards the NFR, and it was only confined to NFRs, which was fine. Later on, as the technology started to expand, and with the internet, and everything kind of changed. So we don't log into our system or log off to our system to use an application anymore. It's kind of technology is pervasive. So today, similarly, there's another shift that has happened with AI. And like any other tool, I always go back to this simple exercise. We have a pair of scissors, we have a knife chopping to chop vegetables. So it's a tool. How we use that tool is up to us. You could cut fruits and vegetables and have a party, or you could use that to harm someone. So, end of the day, how we as people, humans, use the tool is what it makes. And with AI, yes, there's a lot of advantage. Again, in the book as well, I talk how we can harness AI to identify those threats in the beginning and how it can help the risk analysis, and also have referred to a few other resources as well in that. So again, as a tool, how we are going to use it. And AI, I think specifically, is a tool that we all are learning day by day, how helpful it is, and also how damaging it is. So the
Yeah.
question here is, again, as humans, how are we going to use it? So that is how I my perspective towards AI is that, so yes, we should all use the tools because that is really really helping us. So let's have that consciousness to and be mindful to make sure that we take the positive benefits and try to see how we can secure the negative impacts of that as a society. It has to be as a society. So individually, we all, and that's the collective awareness, and that's exactly why I bring in the reflective process here, which is awakening the human side to say, because we do mindlessly, we do things so mindlessly these days. Because for one, multitasking. The other thing is, I mean, again, if you see the simple example, we all can't wait for a lift to kind of open the doors, because within that 30 seconds we want to go on phone.
Gotta
We are
go.
very uneasy, yeah, doing nothing. So, which means we are really, really losing who we are as a human capability. So, once if we lose ourselves, which means that whether it is AI or anything can really take over, and obviously, the impact would be negative. So, if we can really go back and remind ourselves who we are and that we have the control of how to use the tool, and I think that is where. So, I don't see AI as anything really daunting. It's like any other tool which is so beneficial, as long as we can reap those benefits and try to see how we can curb those negative impacts.
Yeah. Yeah, what I hear you say is when it comes to AI, just like any tool, it's not just about let's get it out there and just start using it, but it's really doing the work up front to understand what is it that we want to do with it. What benefits are there going to be? What risk? And that sounds a whole lot like business analysis, by the way.
Absolutely. Reflection is all about that. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Let's see. All right, we've got our next question from Henry. Is there a marked difference between shift left and testing at different sprints in Scrum? So this is maybe thinking about cybersecurity when it comes to agile and testing.
Absolutely. I think if I read the question right, yes, we do test, probably if we are referring to penetration test, which is normally at the end we do, which still holds good. However, the concept of shifting left is to start talking about security upfront. When we talk about the business need, for example, we don't even think about security, bringing the security team or involving those security teams or even data teams, because they, okay, yeah, the business need, as a BA we'll be working with the stakeholders, understanding, okay, this is what we need, unless and until we need some data to do the data analysis or provide that evidence, only then we go to the data teams to get those information. So similarly, the trend is, okay, we bring in the security after we know what we need to do. Or another approach is, which I've also experienced and I've also heard many people say this, is, you know what, let's not involve them because they're going to slow down the process.
Hmm.
Um, which again is not the right way, because the more delay we do bringing in, that means the fix has to go back to the beginning. So that is why shift left is a concept where we kind of, if we are in a testing phase, we shift left, which means at the development and phase we need to start including. If we are in the design development phase, we need to go back to the design, shifting left to the design phase, or from design phase go to the discovery phase. So that's when the real, so as we are talking about the need, we need to understand what is that value. Either we are making a change to the value or we're trying to create new value, and what is that value really means to us, and what can damage if the risks are not taken care, or what are those risks, and what is the value, or what's the benefit, and what is that price that we are going to assign for this value. So based on these things, and that is where security has to be in the beginning. We should have security team as part of our stakeholder analysis and have those collaborations with them from the beginning. So that is where shifting left comes. And of course, testing from a various perspective at the testing phase or during different iterations as per applicable, again depending on what we are releasing at every iteration. Of course, all that will remain as is, but the concept of shifting left is completely from the get-go of the project.
Yeah, and I feel like shift left is a very agile way of thinking. So I think to me, that's how I think those two things fit together. And, just like we've said for decades, you can't test quality into a product. You can't test security into a product either.
Absolutely.
All of those things have to happen much farther up. And again, that just takes good business analysis. All right. Well, so we are. Let's start to wrap up here. First thing I want you to do, Bendu, let's show your book again. And Rosalind, thank you. Rosalind has actually dropped a link into our chat today. So if you would like to get a copy of Bendu's book, Cybersecurity and Business Analysis, you can find it there. And on that website are other links to training and workshops and resources and all kinds of things. If you are wondering how you can shift left and incorporate more cybersecurity into the work that you do. Also, you're going to come and you're going to do a talk at IIBA October 29th. So, Rosalind, if you will drop those links in, it's a public webinar. So, we would love to have everybody that is interested in this topic come hear more about that. Bendu, do you want to tell folks, give them a little highlight as to what you'll be talking about on October 29th, I believe, at
Yes.
noon Eastern?
Yes, before that, you also mentioned about the book, Susan. So I want to mention that, of course, this book is available on Amazon and all other bookstores. But if you go through this particular website, cybersecurityforbusinessanalyst.com, you will get an author discount, and that is where the added advantage is. And yes, going back, answering your question on the webinar, we are talking about elevating your cybersecurity game strategies for business analysis. So again, I will be picking up those key aspects from the book. So the whole book talks about a framework. So this framework is very versatile, where you can just pick up one of that component. Like for example, if you're writing requirements, you don't have to go through the whole framework. You can just pick up that. Or if you're working on data security or a process management, you can just go pick up that particular chapter. Also, if you're working to implement security as part of holistically within your organization, this particular framework would really help at each and every stage. Again, so those are some of the things that during the webinar I will be going through in detail. And yes, we'll start off to understand what's the link between cybersecurity and business analysis and how we can collaborate with the cybersecurity teams as well. And yes, some real life experiences will be shared. And of course, the introduction to the framework. And
Yeah.
along with that, also there's, as Susan mentioned, there's a lot of free resources as well on cybersecurityforbusinessanalyst.com. And also there is a free workshop on both cybersecurity integrating with business analysis and on reflection as well, if you would like to know more about that, because when I shared it, people were interested to understand more. So there's a free workshop as well. If you are interested, please do join. There's one cybersecurity workshop tomorrow. If that is too soon, there will be one in November, which is not yet published, but the dates will be published soon. And also, if you would like to be more competent, there's a complete one-day workshop where you will also get a certificate at the end of it, and also you will be equipped because it's completely hands-on, and it's with a lot of discussions and real life. We will be working on a real life product as well. So yeah, there are different avenues where you could really
Ooh,
go through and
lots
learn.
lots of different ways you can
Yes.
start to experience cybersecurity and business analysis. And one final thing I'll add to all of those different resources that you just talked about is the cybersecurity analysis certification through IIBA. I know
Yes.
you helped build that and you actually have the CCA. And so that's available and actually through the end of this month. I think there's a 15% discount on that. So you can
Yeah.
go out to IIBA.org and learn more about that discount. And so I think that's man, we have covered all the bases. So you've gotten a little taste of the book. You can get more of the taste for it when you see Bendu again in October. Well, Bendu, I want to thank you for coming to join us. It's been a great conversation. As usual, it's always a great conversation with you.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you for the opportunity, and it was really lovely to touch on those topics specifically of interest for me personally, and that is also very relevant for BAs, and also for those questions who all took the time to join us and be part of this conversation. Thank you. As
Yeah.
always, I enjoyed once again.
Yes. Thank you. Great to see you. All right. Well, that is it for today's broadcast. But we will be back in 2 weeks, and when you see us, then we're going to be talking about getting started in business analysis. And boy, do we have a bunch of guests. Not only some folks from the UK who have started a school for up and coming business analysis professionals, but we're going to hear from a couple of the students that are going through that program so they can tell their stories about how they are going to get started in business analysis. That's going to be 2 weeks from today, right here on Business Analysis Live. I want to thank you again for joining us. See you guys soon. Bye.